Hello guys, welcome back. Today we'll be doing this question, sorting an array of zeros, ones and twos. So we'll be given an array in which 0, 1 and 2 will be placed randomly and we have to sort it. What we can do is we can count the number of zeros, ones and twos, like we'll maintain a counter for them, and then we'll store all the zeros in the beginning, and then we will append the number of ones, and then we will add number of twos in the end. Basically what we have to do is we have to maintain three counters, that is C1, C2 and also C0. Right. After initializing these counters, we will traverse through our array and then increase the count of 0 if the element is 0, increase the count of 1 if the element is 1, and the same to 2. Now let's traverse our array. Integer I equals 0, I should be less than n, and will increment. If array of I equals to 0, we will increment our C0. Okay, in the same way to 1 and 2. Another way of writing this is using switch case. Let's use switch case here, and what will be switching? Our I, array of I. Now our case 0, if a 0 is encountered, we will increment our counter. In the same way, for case 1, we will increment C1, and for case 2, we'll increment C3. C2. We'll have to break case. Okay. Now we have traversed our array. The next thing we are gonna do is we'll again traverse our array and we'll replace the first C0 elements with 0, the next C1 elements with 1, and the next C2 elements with 2. Now let's initialize our I once again to 0, while C0 is greater than 0, we'll have to place 0 in our array equals to 0, and then we will decrease our C0, decrement our C0 1. Now unless C0 becomes 0, that is there are no number of zeros present, we will run this loop. Next we'll do the same with C1, and the same with C2. One thing we are forgetting here, we will also have to increment our I in the end of each loop. Another way of writing this is we can increment our I here itself, post increment. Compile and run and see if our program runs correctly. Okay, we have an error here. Yes, our array name we have used is ARR, and here we have A, so we'll just make it ARR. Well, that's a bad output. Let's check where we went wrong. Here we actually I copied and pasted it. and I forgot to update these values, and here it will be 2. Let's compile it again. Let me submit it here. We have a correct answer. I forgot to note that the time complexity, expected time complexity is big O of n, so keep that in mind. So we have done our program here. If you guys want an in-depth explanation of this, hang in there. I'm gonna explain it to you now. Now let's learn the approach and algorithm behind our program. I have taken an example array here. These are the array elements and these are the indices. So I have maintained 3 counters, C0, C1 and C2. Initially they are 0. Now using for loop, I am traversing our array, and while traversing I am checking for 0, 1 and 2. Now let's hand run this. Switch a array of I. So array of I, that is array of 0, is our first element, that is 0. It comes in case 0. So we will increment our C0 to 1, and then we will break from switch case. Again I will be incremented to 1, that is next element. Now 2 comes in our case number 2, so C2 will be incremented. Now C2 will be 1. We will break out from the switch case. Again for in the for loop, or I will be incremented, that is we move towards our next element. It is our case 1. So our C1 will be incremented to 1. The next element, that is 2, which comes in case 2, then we will increment our C2 to 2 and then break from the switch case. Again I will be incremented and we reach to our last element. We'll have 0, which comes in our case 0. So our C0 will be incremented from 1 to 2. And by the end of this for loop, we have C0 as 2, C1 as 1 and C2 as 2. Now let's move on to the further part of our program where we actually update our array. We traverse our array once again and replace the first C0 elements with 0, the next C1 elements with 1 and the next C2 elements with 2. Let's actually see how this works. Our I is initially 0 and C0 is 2. While 2 is greater than 0, we'll have to run this loop. Now array of I plus plus equals 0. Since it is I plus plus, it will be incremented after one use. I is 0 right now, so at our 0th index, that is our first element, will be 0. C0 minus minus will decrement our C0. It was 2, now it will be 1. Is 1 greater than 0? Yes. The loop will run again. I was 0, now I will become 1 due to incrementation. Now array of I plus plus equals 0. Again we have 0 as our next element and I will increment to 2 and C0 will decrement to 0. Now 0 is greater than 0, this condition is false, so we'll be out of our while loop. This while loop will be terminated. Now next while loop we have C1, that is 1. Is 1 greater than 0? Yes. So we'll run our array. Array of I equals 1. Since our I is 2 right now, at our second index we'll have 1 and our index will increment to 3, and C1 minus minus will decrement our C1 to 0 while C1 is greater than 0. Now is 0 greater than 0? No. So this while loop will be terminated. Now next we have C2 here. Our C2 is 2. Now array of I, that is array of 3, is 2. So we'll place 2 at our third index, and array of, now we'll increment our I to 4 and decrement our C2 to 1. Now 1 is greater than 0, so array of I, that is array of 4, will be 2, and again we will increment our I and will decrement our C2, which will be 0 now. Now is C2 greater than 0? Is 0 greater than 0? No. Again this while loop will be terminated and we reach at the end of our program. So our final updated array is this thing. As you can see, we have reached to our expected result. I hope you all understood this program. It was pretty easy. If you have any suggestions or doubts, you can post them into comment section. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.